Hello everybody, welcome to my series, Tradigital Tutorials. Through this series, I hope to introduce people to the very basics of animation and maybe inspire some people's interest in the medium. Learning about animation can be an expensive and time-consuming process, so I hope to simplify what I've learned so far and get others started on animation if they're interested. Throughout this series, I'll be using TV Paint and a Huion Canvas 13 tablet. My preferred style of animation is frame by frame, however, most of the information that I cover is applicable to all styles of animation, from 3D to stop motion or even a flipbook animation that you do in the corner of your notebook. The goal of this channel is to introduce people to the animation process and doing so in an affordable way. I've put a link in the description to a few free animation softwares, and if you don't have a device to use these softwares, you can practice with the classic pencil and paper. During the series, I will be covering the basics of animation, some of its history, and simplifying some of the teachings that have come from great animators, such as Richard Williams, the author of the Animator's Survival Kit and the lead animator on Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I also suggest that you check out other animation channels, such as Howard Wimshurst or Aaron Blaise, a former Disney animator. The basic understanding of animation is putting a series of images or drawings together, one after the other, in order to create the illusion of motion. To me, it's interesting because it allows you to push the boundaries of storytelling by allowing you to create more expression in a scene without being bound by what is actually possible. Before CGI, many of the stunts that characters do in animated films would be extremely difficult to pull off with live-action practical effects. The only limit in animation is your own imagination. To begin, the first of the 12 principles of animation laid out by Ollie Johnston and Frank Thomas's book, The Illusion of Life, Disney Animation, that I would like to cover is squash and stretch. Squash and stretch gives mass to your animations. Changing the squash and stretch on a ball, for example, can mean the difference between a bowling ball and a water balloon. Stretch comes into play when the object is in motion. If you want to portray an object with a more rubbery consistency, like a water balloon, you would stretch the object more and more the faster it goes. And the opposite is true for something more solid. You would keep it very consistent throughout the scene. When the object stops, you would squash it down. Without this principle sprinkled in throughout your animation, it could give everything the same properties, which may seem a bit too mechanical. One of the benefits of animation is its ability to exaggerate motion without seeming out of place. So I encourage you to push the limits of what seems possible when you can. For now, let's go through an example of squash and stretch while picturing a bouncy ball. Here we have the ball, and here we have the floor. Before the ball falls, its shape remains the same. However, once it begins falling and speeding up, we can stretch it more while keeping its volume the same, which is important. Right before it hits the ground, the object is stretched to its max. When it does finally hit the ground, we squash it down so it gives the perception of rubber. After it is squashed down as far as you want to take it, we begin to bring it back up and continue the process until the ball comes to a full stop, continuing to squash and stretch it just a little bit less until it reaches that full stop. When the object is going through a fast motion, you can also use fewer frames in between. And when the object is coming to rest, like when the ball hits the ground or when it rolls to a stop, you would use more frames. And here we have the full animation laid out. Like I said, I'm still not an expert or done learning, but I hope you learned something new about animation through this video. Thank you for watching this video, and please join me in the next one where I cover anticipation, the second principle.